Imagine a painting so controversial, it made people gasp, parents shield their children's eyes, and critics fling insults like it was the 19th century version of Twitter. Welcome to Édouard Manet's The Luncheon on the Grass, a masterpiece that didn't just bend the rules of art, but shattered them entirely, setting fire to tradition and daring the world to look away. This isn't your typical idyllic picnic scene. There's no gingham blanket or cheerful family sharing sandwiches. Instead, we have two fully dressed men lounging as if they're waiting for a waiter, while a completely nude woman sits right beside them, casually unbothered. Oh, and let's not ignore the woman in the background, wading through a stream like she's walked straight out of a dream, or a surrealist painting audition. What's going on here? Why did this one image cause such an uproar? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you won't just know why this painting was scandalous. You'll see how it cracked open the doors for modern art as we know it. And yes, we're sprinkling in a few laughs along the way because art history doesn't have to feel like a dry museum tour with a guide who forgot their microphone. Let's dive in. Imagine a peaceful woodland setting, sunlight filtering through the trees, and a picnic scene that could almost be serene. Until you actually look at it. Front and center, we have a completely nude woman sitting on a blanket, her posture casual and relaxed. Her gaze locks directly onto ours, not shy, not flirtatious, but boldly confrontational. It's almost as if she's silently asking, "Well, are you going to judge me?" To her left and right, two fully dressed men engage in what seems to be an intense conversation. They're so focused on their debate, likely about philosophy, politics, or which baguette is superior, that they appear completely oblivious to the fact that there's a naked woman chilling between them. And then there's the woman in the background. She's wading through a stream, lifting her skirt and reaching into the water, but wait, she's massive. Her proportions don't make sense. Is she far away? Is she part of the same reality? Or is she some sort of woodland giant who accidentally wandered into this scene? What was your first thought when you saw this painting? Was it shock, confusion, or maybe even laughter? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about your initial reaction. When Manet submitted The Luncheon on the Grass to the prestigious Paris Salon in 1863, the response was swift and brutal. Not only was the painting rejected, but it was also sent to the Salon des Refusés, a separate exhibition for works deemed unworthy or offensive by the Salon's strict judges. But what exactly made this painting so scandalous? 1. The nude woman. Let's get one thing straight. Nudes in art weren't new. The Salon was full of paintings of nude goddesses, nymphs, and allegorical figures. But those nudes came with a veneer of acceptability. They were framed within mythological or biblical contexts, making their nudity feel appropriate and symbolic. Manet threw all of that out the window. His nude woman wasn't Venus or a muse. She was a modern, real woman, unapologetically present. And that direct gaze? It was enough to send critics into a frenzy. 2. The scale. Manet painted this scene on a massive canvas, a size traditionally reserved for grand historical or religious works. By using such a monumental scale for a casual, contemporary scene, Manet was essentially declaring, "This is just as important as your heroic battle scenes." Bold move, Manet. Bold move. 3. The brushstrokes. Academic art of the time demanded smooth, polished surfaces that disguised the artist's hand. Manet, however, embraced visible brushstrokes and loose textures. His painting looked unfinished to many, a deliberate rebellion against the academic standards of the day. 4. The perspective. The woman in the background throws everything off. Her proportions make no sense. She's too large for the scene. This wasn't an accident. Manet was challenging traditional notions of depth and perspective, forcing viewers to question what they were seeing. Critics didn't hold back. They described the painting as garish, incomprehensible, and offensive. Husbands reportedly shielded their wives' eyes from the scandalous scene, and some viewers even hurled sticks at it in outrage. Have you ever seen a piece of art provoke such strong emotions? Share your stories in the comments. I promise no judgment. Manet wasn't conjuring the luncheon on the grass out of nowhere. The painting draws heavily on the visual language and composition of Renaissance masterpieces, most notably Titian's Pastoral Concert and Raphael's Judgment of Paris. But where those works envelop nudity in the safe cloak of allegory or mythological themes, Manet's approach was shockingly raw and unapologetically modern. In Pastoral Concert, two clothed men sit casually with two nude women in an idyllic countryside, a harmonious blend of the real and the symbolic. The nudes represent muses or the idealized spirit of nature, making their lack of clothing an acceptable metaphor. Raphael's Judgment of Paris, on the other hand, uses the classical story of the Trojan prince Paris, selecting the fairest goddess to justify its trio of nudes, situating them firmly in the mythological realm. These compositions didn't challenge societal norms. They reinforced them, offering viewers the comfort of otherworldly beauty removed from their daily lives. Manet, however, smashed through this barrier. By placing a nude woman in a contemporary, everyday setting, he obliterated the traditional safety net of classical symbolism. His Victorine Meurent wasn't a goddess, a muse, or an allegorical figure. She was real. She was modern. And she was unapologetically human. This audacity forced viewers to confront their own biases and double standards. Why was it acceptable to admire a naked Venus or Diana, but not a naked Victorine? Was it because Victorine was grounded in reality, someone who could theoretically exist in the world of the viewer? Was it her defiant, direct gaze that broke the unspoken rule that nudes in art should remain passive, inviting but not confronting? Victorine Meurent is a name that deserves as much recognition as the man who painted her. Far from being just a model, she was an artist in her own right, a fact that's often overlooked in art history. While history tends to reduce her to the role of Manet's muse, Victorine had a successful career as a painter. Her works were exhibited at the Paris Salon, an accomplishment that many artists, including Manet at times, could only dream of. In fact, Victorine's life is a direct challenge to the stereotypes imposed on women in art. She wasn't a passive subject, an object to be gazed upon. She was an active creator, shaping her own narrative both in front of the canvas and on it. Her willingness to pose nude at a time when such actions invited judgment speaks volumes about her boldness and independence. Victorine's relationship with Manet wasn't merely that of artist and model, it was a collaboration. She brought a sense of authenticity to his work that helped elevate his paintings from mere visual provocations to profound statements on society and art. She wasn't just sitting there. She was actively contributing to the cultural revolution that Manet was spearheading. At the time, Manet was no stranger to controversy, but the Luncheon on the Grass took his daring to a whole new level. The painting was met with ridicule, scorn, and outright hostility. Critics accused him of mocking the great masters of the past. Viewers were scandalized, not just by the nudity, but by the sheer modernity of it. This wasn't a Venus from antiquity or a Madonna from scripture. It was Victorine, a woman of the present who refused to apologize for her boldness. Manet's choice of Victorine as his subject wasn't just an artistic decision, it was a political one. By presenting her without the veneer of mythology or allegory, he made a statement about the hypocrisy of societal norms. People were comfortable admiring idealized, otherworldly nudes, but were deeply uncomfortable when faced with the reality of a modern woman who didn't shy away from her humanity. Critics also took issue with the painting's technical execution. Manet's visible brushstrokes and lack of fine detail were a direct rejection of the polished, invisible hand style championed by the academic art establishment. He didn't just want to show you a scene, he wanted you to feel the paint, the texture, the labor of its creation. To many, this was an insult to the refined tradition of European painting. To others, it was revolutionary. Today, the Luncheon on the Grass is celebrated as a pivotal moment in the history of art, a declaration of independence from the constraints of academic tradition. Manet's defiance paved the way for the Impressionists and countless modern artists who followed. His willingness to embrace imperfection, to focus on authenticity over idealization, opened doors that had long been sealed shut. Manet's work forces us to question our assumptions. Why do we find certain images beautiful and others shocking? Why do we hold different standards for the past and the present? These questions remain relevant as we continue to grapple with how art reflects and challenges our cultural norms. So, what do you see when you look at the Luncheon on the grass? Is it a rebellious masterpiece, a sharp critique of societal hypocrisy, or maybe just a really awkward picnic scene? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear your interpretations. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into Manet's groundbreaking work, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more explorations into the mysteries of art history. Got a favorite painting or artist you'd like me to cover next? Drop your suggestions. I might just take your idea and run with it. Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep questioning the rules and exploring the stories behind the canvas, because art always has more to say than meets the eye.